don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hello there. All right. I saw the movie Gadar, and this movie threw me from the beginning because it's... Okay, this was shot in 2001. However, it feels like a 47, a film from like the 50s. The audio is done in a studio, like, it's redubbed over. The audio, the visuals, they made the camera glitch. They made it feel like it stutters, and it took a lot of work to get it to feel like it was from its time, okay? So a ton of props to the cinematography and the editing process for that. They made it look the part. I was so confused because I'm like, this is a really old movie. Why am I watching a really old movie? It's from 2001, right? It's from 2001. I had to keep double checking. I Googled it. I kept searching because I was like confused. Okay, this movie was basically the same story, kind of like a Veer Zamar or Veer Zira, whatever it is. Yeah, so it takes time when the India is basically abandoned by Britain or freed, depending on how you look at it, and Pakistan takes its chance to, and it kills off basically everyone, all the Indians they give them a chance to leave, and then they kill them on the trains, and nothing but dead trains arrive in India. So they basically kick out all the Pakistanis in India and kill them on the trains, and basically dead trains end up in Pakistan, and it leads to a whole fighting of hatred and everything. It's just crazy, absolutely crazy. But the man falls in love and saves this girl, and then they have a flashback and basically shows that he fell in love, and he has a diary with poetry that she finds after he saved her life because she's Muslim and was on her way back to Pakistan when, well, she was basically trampled by a horde of people. Oh, the movie, I enjoyed it. I absolutely enjoyed it until the very end. Okay, the story was good. It jumped. There are a lot of hallucinations that happen because during the songs they showed a bit, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, only for it to be, oh, they're just imagining this. This is like they're imagining the worst case scenario, and I'm like, oh, great, absolutely great. I don't like it when they do that. I like it when they show me what's going on through the music, not showing me, oh, they're just dreaming. Because then the rest of the songs, I'm like, are they actually showing me what's going on, or are they just showing me another imagination? So it threw me after that one, because I'm like, oh, they're all just going to be hallucinations. There's not a single one I couldn't take seriously. So there was that small aspect that kind of threw a wrench in the works. And then, so she basically finds out her family is alive because she was abandoned at the train station and trampled and then saved by a Sikh. Her family's alive and in Pakistan, and she goes to go visit him, but of course they're not going to accept the marriage she went through, the fact that he's a good guy. They don't accept any of that because, well, they don't approve, and he's not Pakistani. So the husband has to go to Pakistan to save her and brings his kid along and his best friend, and then on the order, because he basically leaves with his wife to try and sneak back to India. And keep this in mind, he illegally smuggles himself into Pakistan to get his wife back, so they could have easily just arrested him. Yeah, so he basically takes his wife and starts to try to sneak her and himself and his son and his friend back into India the way they arrived in Pakistan. This is where it goes crazy, because apparently the father gave a green light to hunt this man. So this illegal immigrant was killing off Pakistani soldiers, Pakistani policemen, and a few innocent civilians who, like a truck driver who was ratting him out. So he killed like at least over 40 people on his escape into India. And not only that, his wife gets shot, and they end up at a Pakistani medical facility. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is where it's the rubber meets the road, where he has to run for his life because the father-in-law is going to realize he made a huge mistake and have to sacrifice himself to allow his son-in-law to escape with his son and daughter, because he's the one who shot his own daughter while they were escaping on the train. Because they were at a Pakistani medical facility. Here's an illegal immigrant who has already killed over 40 soldiers, civilians, police officers, and they let him go. they let him go. And I'm like, if anything, he should have been taken to an Indian military site, a medical facility. That would have made more sense, because they wouldn't have cared for the Pakistani government's rules. And then there was that he would have had diplomatic immunity, because he's a diplomat from, like, her father is a politician, so he would have had diplomatic immunity for illegally for being on a Pakistani helicopter taking her to a medical facility. That's how it should have happened, because they wouldn't have cared for what he had done in Pakistan, because he was just trying to get his wife back. That's all he wanted to do. And the father-in-law would have made that just so many, that part was no. However, the cinematography amazing, editing amazing. That last ending made no sense to me. Oh, and I've got to mention that the whole thing worked perfectly. Even when they were on the train, they did the basically background was nothing but an image that they were in front of, kind of like it was in old films. The biggest issue I had was the freaking when they're escaping through Pakistan, there are cars exploding, there are all these practical effects, and if I remember my film history correctly, in the early 40s, 50s, all practical effects were models. They would blow up little models. Sure, it looked comedic, but it's what they did. It's how it worked. If you want to mimic it and make it look as real as possible, they should have destroyed little models. I would have respected it far more, because as soon as it started looking like a Michael Bay film, it lost me. I jumped out of the film and I started looking at it as like, ooh, explosion, ooh, explosion. I probably need to watch Born Identity. That was popping in my head. Those were the thoughts that were popping into my head, not idolizing this film for its cinematography and its editing genius. Yeah. So in the end, it was just that, the music, which made me question if everything was just going to be hallucination, and that ending that made no sense to me. I understand that it's supposed to be like a patriotical film, that it's just supposed to be like the father understands his wrongs and allows his Indian son-in-law to take his daughter back to India because it's more accepting. When it's pretty accepting for a Pakistani military base to allow one man who's murdered or killed already 40 of their citizens and soldiers and everything to leave to their own nation. I think that's pretty understanding. So that was just the worst part. That last bit was like a huge slap in my face as a storyteller, because I was just like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, even Veer Zara, whatever it is, that ending, I accepted a little more. As dumb as it was, I accepted a little more than this one, because this one just seems so blatantly false. You're on Pakistani soil. You're on a Pakistani military base. You've already killed a ton of people. There's no way you're getting away scot-free. I know I'm nitpicking. The movie is amazing, like with its cinematography, with its editing, with its style. It throws you off with that car chase, but other than that, the movie's well done. It's just the ending. A movie is really judged by its ending, because if you can't sell that ending, you've lost everything else, and that ending is bothering me. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. Just imagine that they're not on a Pakistani base and they're on Indian soil at that very end, okay? That's much easier to believe than them being on a Pakistani base after he's killed all these people and allowed to leave. Oh, and don't get me started. Like, the first thing when they were on the train, I kept saying to this TV, decouple the train, decouple all the carts, you'll go far quicker. It didn't take him till after he's lost so much to decouple a train. It did just, of course, if we're going physically, he wouldn't have the strength to remove it, but still, he was able to later on. He should have done it at the beginning. I like the movie, okay? I like the movie. I have an issue where I focus on the negative, and I just steamroll right into that. But this negative was at the very end. The very end. It's hard for me to forget it when it's at the very end. I'm a very forgetful person. But if you put something at the very end, I'm going to focus on that, which is why you're judged by how you end a story. Because a lot of us forgetful people won't remember the mistakes prior, unless they're really bad. We'll remember the mistake at the very end. Okay, yeah, I recommend this movie for its cinematography, for the way they made it feel. Like me, the fact that I was Googling everything to try and make sure, is this really in 2001? That was well done. That was amazingly well done. Props to that, okay? Props to that. The way they made the camera shake, the way they distorted the images, the way the audio seemed to just, the way the audio was done. It just, even the music itself felt old-fashioned. I've seen a few older Indian films, so I felt like it felt old to me, okay? It felt old to me until you see the Michael Bay car explosion situation. Okay, I need to stop here, because I'll just keep focusing on the train. I'll keep focusing on the cars. It's a good movie, all right? It's a good movie. It's 3 hours long. It's really worth it. It doesn't feel like it drags at all. It doesn't. Normally, with these really long films, it tends to drag. I felt like the pacing was pretty well done, especially with trying to maintain an old style cinematography. It doesn't drag that at all. To me, it didn't. I mean, maybe I was just too captivated by it all, but it worked. Thank you all for watching. Talk to you next time. Toodles.